New Guardians of the Galaxy trailer came out this morning, and damn if I'm not seriously excited. So overall, this trailer does a lot of really good things and a few really great things. First of all, this group of characters, more so than any of the other characters that Marvel has dealt with so far, is pretty much unknown. And I know that Iron Man wasn't like incredibly popular before the first Iron Man film, but Tony Stark was still several tiers above the Guardians of the Galaxy on the Marvel food chain. So it's great that this trailer is still focusing on just the characters. I love that they led with Peter Quill saying, "I come from Earth." So they're like right off the bat, all the audience who's not familiar with the Guardians knows that there's at least a human involved in this. And then most of the rest of the trailer is Quill talking about the rest of the team. Now, not the team members individual, but the team as a whole. So the first trailer gave us a little bit about each of the characters individually when they were in the lineup with John C. Reilly and Peter Serafinowicz and the Nova Corps and all that. So we got a little bit of each of them individually, but this trailer, again, focuses on who they are as a whole team, and that's the coolest part about the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're a band of outlaws who are fighting as good guys. It's the Dirty Dozen, it's the Wild Bunch, just in space. They're all rough around the edges, they all have their own motives, but when they get together, they work well together as a team. It actually reminded me a lot of what Nick Fury says about his response team in the first Avengers. It's like they're isolated, they're unbalanced, but given the right push, they could be great. I also love that they're focusing on Peter Quill's tape deck, his mixtapes. It's so cool. I know it's a really small thing, but it's a really small thing that can be a great character trait for Chris Pratt and James Gunn to play with. It's this great piece of outdated technology in a movie that's set in a different galaxy with spaceships and laser guns and all that. It's his link to home, and I'm telling you, it's a brilliant move, including it so heavily in these first two trailers. That mixtape, and more importantly, the soundtrack coming from the mixtape, are going to ground this movie for the audience. First it was Hooked on a Feeling, and now it's Norman Greenbaum's Spirit in the Sky. Like, when was the last time we were able to get excited about a soundtrack for a big movie like this? I think it was like, it might have been Forrest Gump. And Pratt, man, I love Chris Pratt. I've been a fan of his ever since Everwood, and then now, all these years later, here he is, just really comfortable, really able to carry this movie. Oddly enough, this trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy got me more excited for Jurassic World just because of Chris Pratt. So again, this trailer dealt largely with who the team is and stayed away from the plot of the film, which is great for a couple of reasons. We got quick flashes of Ronan the Accuser looking like a bad motherfucker. We got a little bit of Benicio del Toro looking all weird and David Bowie-ish, but no real story there. We got another quick look at John C. Reilly. We got our first look at Glenn Close as Nova Prime, and the way that those shots work, it seems like the Guardians are on some sort of Nova Corps sanctioned mission, which doesn't really say anything about the story. It just kind of sets up the fact that they're good guys. But again, this is definitely the right move. We talk a lot about who the audience is for these Marvel movies, and yes, there needs to be service to the fans of the comic books, but more importantly, they need to attract the biggest audience that they can. And if the trailer gets too involved in setting up this sort of out there, spacey, comic booky kind of plot before they set up these characters, it's gonna be a real turnoff for that larger audience. People who don't know the Guardians aren't gonna show up for a movie about some weird orb in space. They're gonna show up for a movie about really interesting characters. Also, I'm just glad I don't know what the movie's going to be start to finish, which happens all the time in trailers now. Granted, there's still some time between now and its release date in August, so they probably will do a lot of that between now and then, but in the meantime, I'm real happy that I don't know what's happening. The one thing I'm not totally sold on, and I'll admit, I'll be the first one to admit that this is kind of a tiny nitpicky thing, and it might just be me, but Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon just doesn't sound right to me. One, it didn't really even sound like Bradley Cooper, but the other thing is, I never read Rocket as sounding that human. I always read Rocket's voice as something a little more animal, a little more snarly, you know? That being said, I'm a big Bradley Cooper fan, and I'm sure he's gonna win me over, but that's just the one thing in a trailer full of stuff that worked really well that just kind of didn't work as well for me. So I guess what I'm saying is my only problem with the direction this movie is taking so far is that the raccoon's voice doesn't sound raccoony enough, and that doesn't count as an actual problem. I love it. I love it all. I'm really excited. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure to click like and subscribe, and come back next time for more movie news on CineFix Now. In the comics, all of Rocket's dialogue is written in like squiggly font. Squiggly font doesn't mean Bradley Cooper's regular voice to me.